The Christmas lights blinked softly in my garage as I sat alone on a cold metal stool wrench still in hand from the day's work. I am Ace, 32 years old, and I have spent the last decade building something I am genuinely proud of. I am a plumber. Not just any plumber, but the owner of a successful business that keeps families warm and dry. I used to think family meant something. I used to believe that the 3 years and $200,000 I poured into my sister's law school dreams would matter. But a week ago, everything changed. And tonight, on Christmas Eve, I am sitting here because I was not good enough to sit at their dinner table. Before I tell you what happened at that dinner table, let me know where you are watching from. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been looked down on because of your job? Because society decided your work was not prestigious enough? If you believe in the value of honest work, of getting your hands dirty to build something real, hit that like button right now. And subscribe, because what I am about to tell you about how I turned the tables on the people who thought they were better than me is going to make you rethink everything about family and respect. Trust me, you will want to hear how this story ends. Now let me take you back to where this whole mess started, back when I still believed my sister remembered where she came from. Growing up, we did not have much, but we had enough. My father was an electrician, rough hands and a quiet demeanor, while my mother worked as a medical secretary at a clinic downtown. They taught us that dignity came from honest labor, not from fancy titles or corner offices. I learned that lesson early. When I was 18, fresh out of high school, I skipped college entirely. Everyone told me I was making a mistake, that I would regret not getting a degree, but I knew what I wanted. I apprenticed with the best plumber in town, a gruff man named Walter, who taught me that quality work speaks louder than any diploma ever could. By the time I was 24, I had my journeyman license and enough savings to think about starting my own operation. That was also the year everything fell apart. My parents were driving home from a weekend trip upstate when a drunk driver crossed the median. They died instantly. My sister Harper was 19, halfway through her sophomore year at State University. I was 24, suddenly the only family she had left. I remember sitting in that hospital waiting room, Harper's head on my shoulder, both of us too numb to cry anymore. I made her a promise that night. I told her she would never have to worry about money, about school, about anything. I would take care of it. I would take care of her. And I did. I worked 70-hour weeks, sometimes 80. I launched Ace Plumbing Solutions 6 months after the funeral. People thought I was crazy starting a business while grieving, but work was the only thing that kept me sane. I was good at what I did, really good. Within 2 years, I had 5 employees. Within 4, I had 12. The money started coming in more than I ever expected. 6 figures annually, then pushing toward $500,000. But I kept my life simple. I drove the same pickup truck I bought at 21. I lived in a modest 3-bedroom house that I paid off in cash. I did not need fancy things. I needed security. I needed to know that Harper would never struggle the way we might have if our parents had not instilled that work ethic in us. Harper thrived at university. She was always the smart one, the one with perfect grades and scholarship offers. She majored in political science, talked about changing the world, about justice and equality. I was so proud of her. We spoke every Sunday without fail. She would tell me about her classes, her friends, her dreams. I would tell her about the business, about the crazy emergencies I handled that week. We laughed together. We remembered our parents together. After they died, Harper was all I had, and I thought I was all she had too. When she graduated summa cum laude and got accepted to Boston University School of Law, I cried. Our parents would have been so proud. The tuition was $65,000 a year, plus living expenses. I did not even hesitate. I told Harper to focus on school, that I would handle everything else. $2,000 a month for rent and food. Every semester I paid that tuition bill in full. No loans. No debt. I wanted her to start her legal career free and clear the way I had started my business. She hugged me so tight that day, whispered that she would make me proud, that she would pay me back someday. I told her I did not want her money. I wanted her to be happy. The first 2 years of law school were good. Great even. Harper called regularly. She came home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We went to the cemetery together to visit Mom and Dad's graves, left flowers, told them how far we had both come. But then came the third year, the final year. Something shifted, and I could not quite put my finger on it at first. September rolled around and Harper's calls became shorter, less frequent. When I asked about her classes, she gave me one-word answers. Busy, fine, stressful. I figured it was the pressure of the final year, the stress of job interviews and bar exam preparation. I did not push. By October, I started noticing changes on social media. Harper had a new boyfriend. His name was Trenton, and everything about his online presence screamed old money. Polo shirts, sailboats. His family owned some investment firm in Boston. Harper started appearing in photos at wine tastings, charity galas, yacht clubs, places I had never heard of, let alone been to. She looked happy, radiant, even in a sleek black dress at some fundraiser, Trenton's arm around her waist. But I noticed something that made my stomach twist. She stopped tagging me in family photos. She stopped posting anything that connected her to our hometown, to our parents, to me. November hit me hard. I called Harper to ask about Thanksgiving plans. We had not missed a Thanksgiving together since our parents died. It was sacred. But her voice on the phone was distant, apologetic. She was going to spend it with Trenton's family in Martha's Vineyard. They had this whole thing planned, and it would be rude not to go. I swallowed my disappointment and told her I understood. She was grown, building her own life. That was normal. That was healthy. But sitting alone at my kitchen table on Thanksgiving, reheating leftover Chinese takeout, I felt a hollowness I had not experienced in years. I told myself Christmas would be different. She would come home for Christmas. We always spent Christmas together. Then the email came, not a phone call. An email. Formal. Polite. Harper invited me to Boston for Christmas. There would be dinner at Trenton's parents' house. She was looking forward to seeing me. But even through the screen, I could feel the coldness. The words were right, but the warmth was gone. Looking forward to seeing you felt like something you would write to a distant cousin, not to the brother who raised you, who sacrificed everything to make sure you never went without. Still, I agreed. I bought a plane ticket. I tried to ignore the knot forming in my chest. The call came in early December. Harper's voice was cheerful, but there was something forced about it, like she was reading from a script she had rehearsed. So Ace, about Christmas. She told me dinner would be at Trenton's family home in Beacon Hill. It was going to be sophisticated. That word hung in the air. Sophisticated. Then came the question that made my blood run cold. What are you planning to wear? I told her I would wear a suit. Something nice. She paused. Maybe do not mention the plumbing thing too much. It was not that they looked down on it, she hurried to add. It was just that Trenton's parents were traditional. They had certain expectations. I asked her what she meant by traditional. She stumbled over her words, said it was just better to keep things simple, to focus on other topics. I wanted to argue, to ask her why I should hide who I am, but something in her voice told me she was already uncomfortable, so I agreed. I told her I would keep it low-key. The days leading up to Christmas, I felt a growing dread. I went to a department store and bought an expensive suit, charcoal gray, with a white shirt and blue tie. I practiced small talk in the mirror, felt ridiculous doing it. I bought a bottle of premium whiskey as a gift, something that cost more than I usually spent on anything for myself. The night before I left, I sat in my truck in the driveway engine, running heat blasting against the December cold. I almost did not go. Almost turned around and spent Christmas alone in my own house, where at least I did not have to pretend to be someone I was not. But Harper was still my sister. She was all I had left of my family. So I drove. 4 hours through snow and sleet, gripping the wheel, rehearsing conversations in my head. Beacon Hill was a different world. The streets were narrow, lined with brick townhouses that probably cost more than I would make in a lifetime. Trenton's house was massive, a 4-story brownstone with a shiny black door and gas lamps flickering on either side. I parked my truck on the street, suddenly very aware of how out of place it looked among the sleek sedans and luxury vehicles. I grabbed the whiskey, straightened my tie, and walked up the steps. Trenton answered the door. He was tall, blonde, with the kind of effortless confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. He shook my hand, firm but cold. "You must be Ace." His eyes flicked to my truck, parked at the curb, and I saw it. Judgment. Just for a second, but it was there. Harper appeared behind him, and for a moment I saw my little sister again. but then she smiled and it did not reach her eyes. She hugged me, but it felt like hugging a stranger. "Remember what I said," she whispered in my ear before pulling away. Inside the house was like a museum. High ceilings crowned molding a chandelier that probably cost more than my truck. Everything was perfect, sterile, untouchable. Trenton's parents were waiting in the living room. His father, Sterling, stood by the fireplace, scotch in hand, wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost $1,000. His mother, Constance, sat on a cream-colored sofa, every hair in place, pearls around her neck. Trenton's younger sister, Penelope, was scrolling through her phone, barely glancing up when I entered. They were polite, gracious even, but there was a distance, a wall I could feel but not see. Sterling shook my hand. "So, Ace, what do you do?" Before I could answer, Harper jumped in. "Ace works in home services. Home services. Not plumbing. Not a business owner. Home services like I was some kind of handyman who fixed leaky faucets on weekends." I felt the betrayal like a punch to the gut, but I kept my mouth shut. Dinner was an exercise in endurance. The dining room table was set with china so delicate I was afraid to touch it. The conversation flowed around me like I was not even there. Sterling talked about market trends and investment portfolios. Constance discussed her charity work, a gala she was planning for the symphony. Penelope chimed in about her marketing job at some luxury brand I had never heard of. Trenton recounted closing a major deal at his firm, something about mergers and acquisitions. I tried to contribute, tried to find an opening, but every time I spoke, the conversation shifted. Penelope asked me if I sailed. I told her no, I worked most weekends. She exchanged a glance with her mother. "Oh," Constance said, her voice dripping with pity. "Hourly work. How quaint." Sterling turned his attention to me, swirling his scotch. "So, Ace, where did you study?" I could have lied, I could have deflected, but I was raised to tell the truth. I did not go to college. I went straight to trade school. The silence that followed was suffocating. Constance set down her fork carefully. "Well," she said slowly, "trade work is honest." The word hung there. Honest. Like it was something to be pitied, something noble in a sad, old-fashioned way. Not something to be respected. Not something to be proud of. I looked at Harper. She was staring at her plate, jaw tight, refusing to meet my eyes. That was when I knew. She was ashamed of me. After dinner, Harper pulled me aside into a hallway. Her face was tight with anger. "Why did you have to mention trade school?" she hissed. "Could you not have just said you were in business?" I stared at her. This woman I did not recognize, wearing designer clothes I paid for, standing in a mansion belonging to people who look down on me. "Because I am in the trades, Harper. That is what I do. That is who I am." She shook her head. "You do not understand. I am trying to build a life here, a life with these people. And I am what an embarrassment." She did not answer. She did not have to. Christmas Day arrived with fresh snow blanketing the city. I put on the same suit, drove back to Beacon Hill, told myself I could get through one more day, just one more dinner, and then I could go home and never come back. When I arrived, Harper met me at the door. Her face was pale, eyes darting nervously toward the house. "Ace, I need to talk to you." She pulled me onto the front porch away from the warmth inside. Her hands were shaking. I could see her breath in the cold air. She could not look at me. "Ace, Trenton's parents think it would be better if you did not join the main dinner tonight." The words hit me like a freight train. "What? They want to keep it intimate," she said quickly. "Professional circles only. There are partners from Sterling's firm coming, some very important people. You can eat in the kitchen with the staff. We will make sure you are comfortable." I stared at my sister. The sister I raised. The sister I sacrificed everything for. "Are you serious right now?" My voice was barely a whisper. Harper finally looked at me, and I saw tears in her eyes, but they were not tears of shame or regret. They were tears of frustration. "It is just one dinner, Ace. Can you not just do this for me?" "Is this because I am a plumber?" I asked. She did not answer. She did not need to. The answer was written all over her face. I felt something inside me break. Not my heart. That had been breaking slowly for months. This was different. This was the final crack, the one that shattered everything. Trenton stepped out onto the porch. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his tone suggesting that I was the problem. Yeah, I said, my voice hardening. There is a problem. I am being excluded from a family dinner because of my job. Trenton sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Look, man, this is a specific kind of gathering. These are people from a certain social sphere. I am sure you understand. Specific, I repeated. You mean for people who did not get their hands dirty? For people who never had to work a real day in their lives? Sterling appeared in the doorway, drawn by the raised voices. He looked at me with that same pitying expression Constance had worn the night before. Young man, we appreciate blue-collar work. This country was built on it. But this is simply a different social setting. You have to understand. I turned to Harper one last time. And you are okay with this? You are really okay with them treating me like I am beneath you? She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally spoke. Ace, you do not understand what I am trying to build here. I am creating a future. A real future. And that future does not include me. She looked away. That told me everything. I pulled out my phone. Harper's eyes went wide. What are you doing? Making a call I should have made months ago. I dialed the number for Boston University School of Law. It was Christmas Day, so I got the emergency billing line. I left a voicemail, my voice calm and clear. This is Ace Thompson. I am the financial sponsor for Harper Thompson. Student identification number 74392. Effective immediately. I am terminating all tuition payments and living expense support. Please contact me on Monday morning to finalize the withdrawal of funds and cessation of my sponsorship agreement. Thank you. I hung up. Harper's face had gone white as snow. What did you just do? Her voice was barely audible. I cut off your funding. Every penny. You are on your own. She grabbed my arm. Ace, you cannot do this. I am in my final semester. I graduate in May. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, then back up at her face. Watch me. Trenton stepped forward. That is incredibly petty. Are you really that fragile? I turned to him, and for the first time I let the anger show. Petty, I have paid nearly $200,000 for her education. I gave her $2,000 a month so she could focus on school instead of working. I did all of that because she is my sister, because I love her, because our parents would have wanted me to take care of her. And she repays me by being ashamed of me, by letting your family treat me like hired help. So no, Trenton, it is not petty. It is called self-respect. Something you clearly would not understand. Sterling set down his drink. Now see here, young man. Money is not everything. You are right, I said, turning to face him. Money is not everything. But let me educate you people on something. My plumbing business, I cleared $450,000 last year, after taxes. The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I own my home outright, paid in cash, no mortgage. I have investment properties that generate passive income. My retirement account has 7 figures in it. I looked at Trenton. How much student debt are you carrying from that fancy MBA, Trenton? 50,000, 100. He did not answer, but his jaw tightened. I thought so. I started with nothing. No trust fund, no family connections. Just skill and the willingness to do work that people like you think is beneath you. Constance was gripping her pearls literally. We did not realize you were so financially successful. Because you did not ask, I said simply. You judged me the second I walked through that door. You decided I was not good enough because I work with my hands, because I did not go to some Ivy League school. You know what is actually beneath me, this. All of this. I looked at Harper one last time. Mom and Dad taught us to be proud of honest work. They taught us that dignity comes from doing something meaningful, not from pretending to be something you are not. You forgot that, Harper, and that is the saddest part of this whole thing. You did not just betray me. You betrayed them. I walked down those steps, got into my pickup truck, and drove away. Behind me, I could hear Harper calling my name, her voice breaking. But I did not turn around. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. I spent Christmas alone in my living room drinking a beer and watching old movies. My phone exploded with messages. Harper called 17 times that night. I did not answer. Her voicemails went from angry to desperate to sobbing. How could you do this to me? You are ruining my life. Please, Ace. I am sorry, I will fix this. Just please call me back. I deleted each one without listening all the way through. Text messages flooded in. I am begging you. I made a mistake. I was wrong. Please do not do this. I blocked her number. On December 26th, I received an official email from Boston University School of Law confirming the termination of my sponsorship agreement. Harper owed $32,000 for her final semester. The payment deadline was January 15th. If she did not pay, she would not be allowed to graduate. She would not receive her diploma. 3.5 years of law school would be worthless without that final semester. I felt nothing, no guilt, no regret, just a hollow sense of closure. On December 27th, Harper showed up at my house. I saw her through the window before she knocked. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and a coat that looked 2 sizes too big. Her eyes were red and swollen. I opened the door but did not invite her in. Ace, please. Her voice cracked. I made a terrible mistake. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I listened, arms crossed, saying nothing. She continued, words tumbling out in a rush. I got caught up in Trenton's world. I wanted to fit in so badly. I wanted to be part of that life, and I thought if I just acted like them, talked like them, pretended to be like them, they would accept me. But it was not worth losing you. I know that now. Please, Ace. I am so close to graduating. 3.5 years. Do not let it all go to waste. I will pay you back every cent. I swear. I will get a job. I will work. I will do whatever it takes. Just please give me this one chance. I looked at the sister I thought I knew. You let them humiliate me, Harper. You stood by while they treated me like I was not good enough to breathe the same air as them. That money was not a loan. It was a gift. It came from love, from family. And you threw that away the second it became inconvenient for your new life. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. The answer is no. But Ace, I cannot get a student loan this late. The semester starts in 2 weeks. I cannot afford it. I will have to drop out. Then drop out, I said quietly. Figure it out the way millions of other students do. Work, save, take out loans, do whatever you need to do. But you are not getting another dollar from me. She started crying harder, her whole body shaking. I am your sister, and you were ashamed of me, I said. That is something I can never forget. She left, and I closed the door. I did not watch her drive away. Over the following months, I heard through mutual acquaintances what happened to Harper. She managed to secure an emergency student loan with a horrible interest rate. She took a job waiting tables at night while finishing her final semester. She graduated in May, but by then she was $50,000 in debt between the student loan and credit cards she had maxed out. Trenton broke up with her in March. Apparently, the drama and financial stress were not compatible with his lifestyle. She moved back to our hometown, took a job at a small law firm making $40,000 a year. Nothing like the corporate positions her classmates landed. I did not feel satisfaction hearing these things. I did not feel vindication. I just felt free. I focused on my business. I opened a second location in a neighboring county. I hired 4 new apprentices, young men and women who reminded me of myself at that age. Hungry, determined, willing to work hard for something real. I mentored them the way Walter mentored me. I taught them that skill and integrity matter more than any degree. I found a new community, people who respected what I did, who understood the value of building something with your own 2 hands. I started dating again, met a woman named Julia who ran a small construction company. She got it. She understood the pride that comes from physical work, from solving problems, from making things better. A year later, on Christmas Eve, I was back in my garage. But this time I was not alone. My employees were there along with Julia and a few close friends I had made over the past months. We had a small party, nothing fancy. Beer and pizza, laughter, real conversation. No one cared what anyone did for a living. We cared about who people were, not what they owned or where they went to school. That night, after everyone left, I checked my email. There was a message from Harper. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." I hovered my cursor over it for a long moment. then closed my laptop without opening it. Maybe one day I will forgive her. Maybe one day we will sit down and talk about what happened, about how she lost herself trying to become someone she thought she should be. Maybe, but not today. Not anytime soon. What I learned from all of this is simple but profound. Family is not always about blood. It is about respect. It is about showing up for each other, even when it is inconvenient. It is about being proud of who someone is, not what they do or how much money they make. I learned that self-respect is not negotiable, that you cannot compromise your dignity to make other people comfortable. I learned that sometimes the family you choose, the people who see your value without you having to prove it, is better than the family you were born into. I do not regret cutting Harper off. I do not regret walking away from that dinner table in Beacon Hill, because in doing so I chose myself. I chose my worth. I chose to surround myself with people who celebrate me instead of tolerate me. And in the end, that choice made all the difference. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means drawing a line and saying this far and no further. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. I sleep well at night. My business is thriving. My life is full of genuine relationships built on mutual respect. I am finally okay with the fact that my sister is not part of that life anymore. And honestly, I am better off without her. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to cut off a family member because they did not respect you? Have you ever walked away from someone you loved because staying would mean betraying yourself? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear how you handled it. And if this story resonated with you, if you believe that self-respect should never be compromised, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel because I share real stories about real struggles and real choices. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be struggling with a similar situation. Your support means everything, and it helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you something to think about. Remember, your worth is not determined by other people's opinions. It is determined by how you show up for yourself every single day. Take care of yourselves out there and never let anyone make you feel small for doing honest work. You deserve better. We all do.